Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you seasoned veterans on what we do around here. What we do around here is bring about a consistent conversation of psychological, emotional, and mental health related topics and coaching related topics as well. We try to do that as often as we can. We try to do that multiple times per week for your listening pleasure and benefit. We've got nearly 800 of these, and we'll actually have 800 by the end of today for your listening pleasure, and hopefully can connect with you on many of those. If you're looking for coaching, would love to be of assistance to you. If you're looking for things that may destroy your mental health, and so kind of looking at that from another perspective of avoiding doing that to yourself is a good idea. If you are looking into that or just dealing with things that you feel are dragging you down, certainly worth reaching out in that way if that's something that's going to benefit you in any event. Things that may do that are the topic of the video. If you are interested in a conversation, then feel free to reach out at PO Perception on Twitter and or in the About Me section of this YouTube page, and we can make connections there. The first thing that will make your mental health go into a negative space is the idea or the illusion of perfectionism. There is no such thing as a perfect person. There is no such thing as perfection. But when a person believes that perfection is theirs, they begin to get into a place where they almost harm themselves in a negative way. Now, that is to say, they begin to mentally obsess over how the world sees them to the point where, unless they're perfect, they don't get what they need, and so they are constantly self-critical in a manner that ultimately builds them up to be unable to meet their own expectations. The next is the tie-in with dependency on technological devices. This could be something like Facebook or other applications. This could be texting or your phone. This could be a computer. This could be apps like Netflix, Hulu, and the like. But basically, dependence on technology takes you away from social interaction. The absence of social interaction will lead you in a direction that ultimately is not where you want to go. It doesn't necessarily mean that you should never use technology. No one would make that claim. However, the reality of the situation is finding a way to get to a place where you begin to understand at a deeper level what it looks like to get to a place where your life is actually better quality for yourself. The easier it becomes to get to a smart and intelligent place and be using technology in a balanced way. The majority of people that have social isolation issues or don't feel connected often are too reliant on technology in the end and aren't building quality relationships. The next thing is not getting proper amounts of sleep. This will destroy your mental health because your brain needs the ability to recharge. Your body needs the ability to recharge. The ability you have to recharge will directly relate to the quality of life you live. If you're not taking time for that recharge process, you will eventually burn out in a way that's not healthy for you, and you will also burn out in a way that leads you to not like the quality of life you're living, and also get to a place where the quality of life you're living no longer is sustainable for you as a person. So what begins to happen is you begin to look at life through the process of making decisions that ultimately are not healthy or intelligent for you in a meaningful way. And so that begins to get you to a burnout level, and ultimately that's a struggle sometimes from here to there. The next thing that can cause mental health destruction is remaining in toxic relationships, whether it's a toxic friendship, toxic relationship romantically, toxic family dynamic. When we remain in toxicity for a very long time, we start to begin to learn what is right and wrong in a way that's almost, um, negative, and our view of what is sustainable versus not sustainable becomes unhealthy. So, the beginning of the understanding that, in fact, there are challenges in that way ultimately leads to something that doesn't serve you in a healthy manner. In the end, what begins to happen is we get to an unhealthy place, and the reality of that process begins to ultimately take you in a direction you don't want to go. The next is not getting help. So, the inability to receive help and the inability to connect with help on a in a meaningful way is something that um, you begin to look at from a direction that doesn't necessarily serve you in the long or short of it. When we begin to understand that we're not getting the help we need, when we begin to understand that the help we need isn't coming about, many of us pull back from ever asking for help again or go extended periods of time without asking for the help we need. However, when we don't ask for help, we guarantee that we will eventually burn out. Furthermore, we get to a place within ourselves where we start to look at people in a negative light and believe that they don't want to help us. The illusion of comparison is another thing that can lead us to getting into unhealthy patterns. So, the illusion of competition is the idea that we are comparing ourselves with where we think we should be, where we think we ought to be, how we move through a healthy or unhealthy decision. It's not necessarily a good or bad thing, it's not necessarily a smart or unsmart thing. It's just the fact that when we compare, we also contrast, and we lead ourselves to think negative things about ourselves without really thinking about the long-term effects of those beliefs. The next thing is the concept of self-sabotage. When a person is in the midst of self-sabotage, what they're really doing is leading themselves into a direction that isn't good, healthy, wise, smart, or just. And so we begin to look at life through an idea that ultimately is not going to be sustainable, will not last long term in a healthy way, cannot lead us where we need to go, and also actually will hold us back from making the emotional, mental health, or emotional connectivity desire that we need. The last thing is not being grateful for what we have. Now, gratefulness can be extremely difficult for a variety of reasons. Most often because gratefulness is directly related to the idea that, in fact, we have difficulty relating to, um, being grateful when we're going through difficult times. But if we're grateful for nothing, we will lose the advantages we have and the perspective of those advantages. So hopefully this is helpful. I encourage you to keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.